Welcome to LA55 Customs. Today we're working on a 2001 Ford F250, and this has the Triton V10 6.8 liter engine. I ran some codes on it and it came up as a CMP, which is your camshaft position circuit fault. So what we're going to do is we're going to change out your camshaft position sensor. I just wanted to give you a rundown of how easy it is to do this. It's a 10-minute job and you're done. So you do not need to take it into the shop and do it. This is the actual part that I got. There's the number that you're going to use. I like to use OEM, like from the Ford dealership. If not, something very similar, and Napa carries a really good product. Okay, so now let me show you where the location of the camshaft position sensor is. And I did find a fault with it. I'll show you that also, of why this camshaft position sensor is bad. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the left side of the engine, which will be the driver's side, and it is right below the valve cover itself. And if you follow it straight down, there is your camshaft position sensor. It's right into the front of the engine, and if you look, this is the reason why the wires are cut. They broke off somehow. So that is why the CMP was indicated on the code reader. And so we're going to go ahead and fix this and also replace the camshaft position sensor. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to get into the back of it. There is a tab right on the back right here that you need to press down on. And as you're pressing down on it, you press down and then you pull back, and there is your there it is right there. So that's what you need to take off. Evidently, it shouldn't come off because they are wired on. This one has a little bit more of an issue, so I'm going to have to get a new pigtail and then resplice into it. But anyways, so right down there is your camshaft position sensor. This right here. And let's go ahead and take that off. Okay, so you're going to want to use an 8mm deep socket to get on there. It's one bolt, that's all you need to take off, and once you remove the 8mm bolt, then the camshaft position sensor will slide right out. Okay, now that you've removed the bolt, go ahead and grab your camshaft position sensor, wiggle it back and forth, just go ahead and pull the thing straight out. The next thing that you want to do too is you want to look to make sure that they both match up. So set the new one side by side and look at it. Make sure that you know, it's not too long on the base, because you do not want this long or too short. They have to be exactly the same size. The connector's in the right location. You got your seal is in the right location, and then you just want to pick them up and then double check to make sure that the connector pops right on. So yeah, it looks like the right connector also. Okay, so we now figured out what the problem was, broken wires for the CMP, the circuit fault from the camshaft position sensor. So I went back down to Napa. I picked up a pigtail, and there is the number of the pigtail for your camshaft position sensor. So here's your new camshaft position sensor pigtail, and it is the correct one. I double checked everything. Make sure you double check on, you know, on the connections. You know, just make sure they're correct before you go and solder everything back together, because if you don't, you know, you're going to have to cut it off and go get another one. So just double check everything before you move on. This pigtail ran about $24, not too bad. The camshaft position sensor, it was $30. So if you were just going to change out your camshaft position sensor, that would be 30 bucks. Relatively cheap compared to what they would charge you at the dealer. All right, so first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take and cut the cut it back a little ways so I can get to these wires so we can make a good connection. All right, so now what I did was I cut the wire loom back, and then I took and stripped the insulation off the wires. Now I'm ready to put on the solder connectors, and I will show you that once I'm done. Okay, another thing I wanted to show you too is, I gotta say, this saves you a lot of time and effort. Instead of just taking your wires, putting them together, taking actual soldering them together, using some heat shrink over the top, and then wrapping it in electrical tape, the best way that I have found is if you just take one of these, dead center, that's solder, and this is a shrink tube right there, like heat shrink, and it will actually just shrink around your wires, and it solders it at the same time. Excellent product. So here's what you'll end up doing is you'll take your wire, you want to twist it, and then you're going to run it on like this, and then what's going to happen, let's get this wire kind of, there we go. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take the other wire that's going to come in, and you're going to take it and then you're going to twist it. Let me see if I can do it with these two here. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take it and twist it around like this right here. Okay, so it's going to look like that. And then you're going to take this and slide it right over the top until the solder is dead center. And then what you're going to do is you're going to heat this up with a soldering gun, or sorry, with a butane torch. And you're just going to draw heat to this and keep working it back and forth. You do not want to add heat onto the outside because it will melt or burn the electrical sheath here. So you're just going to keep on concentrating it back and forth, and you're going to run this heat back and forth here, and you'll see the heat start to shrink up on you. And then the middle here, once the solder, you'll see it when it starts to melt, you'll know when it's melting. Then the wires are fused together, a positive lock on it, takes the guesswork out of it. And then, you know, you can run, like I said, if you wanted to, you can put electrical tape around it, or you know, leave it as is. Okay, one more thing to point out. So if you look on the back here, you want to make sure that you get the right wiring, because one is going to be blue and one is going to be green. So it's kind of hard to see it, but if you look on the right side here, that's green, and then this side on the left is blue. So then if you set it side by side, so your green side, which is going to be the right side, is going to be black, and then the blue side right there, your blue side, is going to be white. This is what I always use. Power Probe makes an awesome product. It's a micro torch, and this is a really good butane torch, and it does wonders on the heat shrink tubing that I was telling you about. The other thing too is I have, if you go back to episode 13, I've got a whole video just on soldering wire ends together and what works the best. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like before I solder. So again, the blue goes into the white wire, and the green will go into the black wire. But there it is, and we're going to go ahead and solder that. Okay, so now after you are done and completed connecting your wires together and soldering them, what I like to do is use wire loom. And this wire loom is heat resistant, and it protects the outside sheaths of your wires so they don't get frayed, they don't get burned. So heat does a lot of damage to things, so I would actually use this. You can use your vinyl electrical tape, that works. And this here is your heat-proof adhesive cloth tape. That also works too. I prefer using the wire loom and then putting some black electrical tape around it in different spots just to hold it closed. Okay, so here is the final product. I just put the wire loom on there and connected it and hooked it in a couple spots down here by the base, up top, and should be ready to go. So now that we are installing the crankshaft position sensor, we're going to go ahead and put in the new one. What I like to do, and actually am a firm believer in, is clean the areas before you put back your part. And if you're putting on a used part, clean that part too. It's just a good practice to get into, and it also takes away any of the grease and oil, because if you look down here, there's a lot of grease and a lot of oil, down around the opening. And if that's present, then what it will do is it'll actually start to leak, maybe not give a good seal. So go ahead and just shoot it down with like WD-40. WD-40 works really good, great product, and just a rag. Okay, now that you've got your camshaft position sensor installed and the bolt in place, connect all your wires, get that done and completed. When you're putting in the camshaft position sensor, when you're installing the new one, you might have to wiggle it back and forth a little bit, up and down, and then it'll pop right in. You'll feel it just pop in, and it does have to seat all the way down. You do not want it sticking out any. It has to be flush to the back. So when you slide it in, you want it flush up against this ridge right here, and so that's going to be seated all the way down. It'll be touching up against this section right here, and then you take and crank your bolt down, get it good and snug, and you're good to go. Let's go ahead and start the engine. I'm going to clear all the codes. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Okay, now that you went ahead and changed out your camshaft position sensor, what we need to do now is reset your codes. So the only way to reset your codes is you have to use a code reader. And I highly recommend the Autel product. Autel I've used for years and years and years, and it has never let me down. They have inexpensive code readers all the way up to something like this, which was about $2,800. This is the Autel Maxi System Elite. Wonderful product, highly recommend it. It does an array of different things, and I will be going over how to work this in another video, so please watch that. So here's how we go ahead and reset the camshaft position sensor. So we're going to hit forward. We're going to go into automatic VIN select. Now I am going to cover over the VIN number, and then what we're going to do is hit read. Okay, now we're going to hit OK. And then I'm going to take and run this down. And this should be 2000, 2001 that pop up here. There we go. And this one is a 2001. So we're going to go ahead and select that. Okay, so then it brings up what you're using here. And it shows, your 6.8 liter, it's an F series, automatic transmission, yada, yada, yada. Again, I covered up the VIN number, but yes, this is correct. Okay, so now we are going to go into the actual system. The data is loading right now. and let it boot up. And if you guys have any kind of a comment, on how to use this, I'll be more than happy to assist you. So shoot me a comment. And so anyways, equipped or not equipped. So if you have the Lariat package or something like that. So anyways, I'm going to go equipped. And then you can do all sorts of different things, the diagnostic, hot functions, service functions. You can reprogram with this, vehicle profile. I'm going to go ahead and do the diagnostic. So we'll do an auto scan. Now, normally when you change out a camshaft position sensor, it's 10 minutes. Honestly, it does not take long. I'm going a little more in depth because I had a couple of things, the wires were broken. I had to re-splice those. And I also wanted to kind of show you how to reset it with the code reader. Okay, so now we're gonna go in the PCM, the power control module. It's already highlighted blue. So then we'll go ahead and hit OK. And then we want to read the codes. Okay, now you have the key on, engine off. That's what you want. You're gonna hit OK. And once it establishes vehicle communication, it'll show, here we go. Right here is your CMP, camshaft position circuit fault. So what we're gonna do is, so it pulled all this up, now we can clear these. So we're gonna hit escape. Escape again. We're gonna go in and read the codes. Your ignition is on and engine is off, yes. Your DTCs and freeze data will be deleted. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Codes have been successfully erased. Return to the function menu and tap read codes to verify. Okay, so then you can go back in, do this all over again. And if it's fixed, that code should not pop back up. And there you go. So there's no more, so it's gone, so it's fully reset, and now it should be back to normal. Thanks a lot. Please give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe. We do a ton of videos on a weekly basis, and we'd love to hear your comments. If you have a vehicle that you want us to work on, we'll try to accommodate that. Shoot us a comment, and we do a bunch of giveaways. So thank you very much. Have a good day.